Okay, hello and welcome to this Fukui orientation presentation video. Today, the topic is on the road. So this one is mostly about driving, but even if you don't plan to get a car, there is lots of useful info regarding road safety and laws. And even if you are just a passenger in a car, some of these things may apply to you. So please watch and pay careful attention. Also, living in rural Fukui, I imagine eventually most of you are likely to get a car anyway, and those who don't, you may get one at a future point. Now, of course, driving in another country is daunting, especially if you have to drive on the other side of the road. However, you soon adjust because the side of the car that you drive on helps to orientate you, so don't worry too much about that if you're used to driving on a different side of the road in a different part of the world. And also, the Fukui road systems, they're not that complicated. So, driving in Japan, this will follow pages 30 to 41 in the Fukui Orientation Handbook. First, let's have a look at some basics. So, you should always carry your driving license whilst you are driving. In your first year, it will be an IDP, International Driver's Permit, which allows you to drive for 1 year. And you shouldn't drive if you do not have it with you. So, always keep it on you, either in your car or perhaps better to keep it in your purse or your wallet. Also, most people keep their insurance documents in their car as well. You can keep a copy if you don't want to risk the originals. Car crime in Fukui is almost unheard of, although we did have one time a Fukui ALT had her bag stolen from her car when she quickly popped into a convenience store and left her car unlocked. So it's not completely unheard of, but very, very, very rare. Now, if you are ever unfortunate enough to have an accident, you must, of course, stop your car. And after checking everyone is okay and making sure that everyone is in a safe position, then the police must be called. And this is no matter how small the accident, even if it's a minor bump, then the police must be called. If the other person tries to leave, try and get a photo of their license plate or memorize it. They may panic because you're a foreign, or they may think, they can get away with not calling the police because you don't know the law. But now you do, so make sure that you insist that the police are called. This is very unlikely to happen, but it has happened. So it is standard then for the police to notify your employer as well. Again, this may feel to people from different cultures like an invasion of your privacy. But this is just the normal way things happen in Japan, and especially because you are public servants. So your supervisor will then have to make a report and report it to the Kensho and the ALT, that is you. You should report it to the ALT-PA or Kensho ALT, or basically me. Now, there are several small car accidents in Fukui involving ALTs every year. Thankfully, they are usually just small fender benders with people running into the back of the car in front of them, and it's usually, I'm sad to say, the ALT at fault. So, condescending Simon says, these accidents are the easiest to avoid. Always leave more than ample room between yourself and the car in front. You won't get anywhere any quicker by being close to them. So there's no excuse for these accidents to happen. Second, put the phone down. I don't know, but I suspect this is how most of them are caused. I think everyone thinks, it won't happen to me. I'm just checking it for like 1 second, but that's all it takes for the Oba-chan to stop in front of you because she thought she saw a snake in the road. True story. Okay, police cars. So don't be alarmed if you see a police car behind you with a red flashing light. In Japan, they always have their red lights flashing. It's only if they want you to stop, then they will put on the siren, and also they often have a speaker system, a megaphone, and they will start shouting at you loudly, and then you should know that they are talking to you and they want you to stop. Police people also like to hide behind lampposts to catch non-seatbelt wearers and speeders. They also lurk at rail crossings and pedestrian crossings, especially in March. This is the end of the financial year, so they go crazy at this point, as they need to fill their coffers or satisfy their quotas, or maybe just earn their summer pay bonus. Okay, now there are two types of car in Japan. Do you know what they are? Yes, they are differentiated by the color of the license plate or number plate. There is the white plate and there is the yellow plate. The yellow plate is also known as a K car. So a white plate is pretty much a standard car with an engine size above 660 cc's, whereas the K car is a much smaller car. There are certain size restrictions, but also the maximum engine size is 660 cc. So there are pros and cons of both. Me personally, when I started as an ALT, I had a yellow plate K car, and it was great. It was very efficient on gasoline or petrol. It also the tax and insurance is cheaper. However, after a while, I upgraded to a white plate because I just felt a bit safer. The yellow plates are often quite small, so especially if you've got an older one. The newer ones probably have a lot more safety features, but yeah, I certainly feel a bit more protected in a white plate. But yeah, it's gonna cost you a bit more money to run. Okay, next let's have a look at some common infringements. So first, you must come to a complete stop before a rail crossing. So you come to a stop, you check both ways down the train line or for a hiding police car, and then you proceed. Of course, if a train is coming, the lights will flash, the barriers will come down, but at all other times, when the lights are not flashing and the barriers are not down, you must still come to a complete stop and check. You never know if the signal is broken. This is probably one of the most common infringements that Fukui ALTs get caught for. Some people slow down but don't actually stop and get caught for that. Officially, your car must come to a complete stop, apparently for 3 seconds before you cross. Next up is speeding. So speed limits are incredibly low in Japan, so it's very easy to accidentally get caught speeding, and the fines can be huge. So back in the day when I was an ALT, my host mum, she got a $750 fine for doing 60 kilometers in a 40 kilometer limit. 60 kilometers is only 37 miles per hour. So she got a $700 or the equivalent of a $750 fine for just doing 37 miles per hour. So, and she also had to do a day-long speed awareness course. So yes, please keep an eye out for the speed limits. Next, can you guess what this sign means and what it requires you to do? Have a good look at it. Remember it. And now always remember to stop at this sign. Yes, it is a giveaway sign. So yeah, you must come to a complete stop when you see this sign. There's often a white line across the road to show you where to stop. Sometimes there is a white line but no stop sign. You can continue. It's only if there is the white line across the road and the stop sign that you must come to a complete stop. Of course, check both ways before proceeding. Now, especially in the smaller towns or the residential areas, it's not always super obvious where the sign is. They perhaps have to find somewhere convenient to put it, so it's not always in a uniform place. So therefore, approach every crossroad in these areas with caution, just in case. It's better to be cautious and have the person behind you honking their horn, telling you that it's okay to go, than to think, feel pressured to go through and then cause an accident that would be your fault and potentially dangerous. Okay, you should always stop at a zebra crossing or a pedestrian crossing if someone is waiting or just about to approach it. Now, in reality, 90% of people do not stop and allow pedestrians to cross in Japan, or certainly in Fukui. I believe it's a national thing. Now, for such law-abiding and polite citizens, I find this one difficult to understand. I can be standing there with a baby car and have to wait for at least 10 cars to go past before someone will eventually stop to let me cross. Actually, I think one newspaper did a survey once, and they asked people, why do you stop, and if not, why? And most of the people said, well, nobody else stops, so I don't either. So here, this is one of the negative aspects of the herd mentality. Anyway, despite the fact no one stops at these, the police will still stalk them for an easy catch and an easy payday for them and their coffers, but usually only in March. Okay, next up we have the double green light situation. So this is another important, weird, complicated and dangerous thing. And basically it's when you are, let's do it from the perspective of the car. You are in a car and you are waiting at a red light and you're waiting to turn. So you've got your indicator on, your right indicator there. And then the light goes green. Now at the same time you'll see the pedestrian crossing light, the little man, also goes green at the same time. So we have two green lights covering the same route. So when the car begins to go, so does Mr. New York here. The car suddenly stops, realizing that they have to yield even though they're on a green light, causing Mr. New York to say, "Hey, I'm walking here." And then, of course, the car politely apologizes, "Sumimasen," and bows, and then Mr. New York is free to continue on his way, and the car is free to continue on their way. So yes, always be careful when you're turning on a green light, especially sometimes on a really big junction. The car can sort of go on their green light, and they're sort of halfway around the junction they forget that they're on a green light that also requires them to yield for green pedestrian crossings, so they may forget and just think they're free to continue on their way without checking. So it can be dangerous, especially there's a big Coca-Cola sign in the center of Fukui, and it's a very big crossroad, and here I've nearly been hit like 3 times on that one crossroad. So please really be cautious, especially if you're on a bicycle. Bicycles, you suddenly approach fast without a car realizing. Basically when I'm crossing here, I'll be looking left and right the whole time while I'm crossing. Okay, let's talk about traffic lights. So the first one, this may only apply to US ALTs, American ALTs. So in Japan, there is no turning left on a red light. I guess in the US, you can turn right on a red light, right? But here it's left, and you can't do it. So you can never go through a red light. Well, except when there's a green arrow. So if a green arrow pops up, this actually supersedes the red light, but only in the direction indicated by the green arrow, of course. Also, like we said before, covered already, watch out for pedestrians on a green light. And unless you want to hear my New Yorker impression again. No? Oh, okay. Never mind. So there's the green arrow, so that means in that direction you can proceed, and watch out for pedestrians on the green light. Okay, next is the orange or amber light. So this is mostly at night time when it's quiet, when there's not so many cars on the road. You may see a flashing orange light. This means you have the right of way, but you should still slow down and check both ways and proceed with caution. There is also a flashing red light. Now this is basically a pseudo stop sign, so you should come to a complete stop, check both ways and check it's all clear, and then you can proceed. Okay, next page 38, other considerations. So please do not use gadgets. Obviously using your phone for any reason is not allowed. This even includes holding a hands-free mic in your hands. Basically, both your hands should be free to operate the car at all times. You can set your phone up in a holder and program in your destination in navigation or app before driving, but you must not be doing this or holding the phone or resting it on your knee whilst you are actually driving. Also, using headphones is also a dame. That means no. So even having your music too loud without headphones, just from the stereo, so that it may hinder your senses is a dame too. Now, you may see Japanese drivers doing all these things, by the way, but don't be tempted. ALTs unfortunately cause a disproportionate amount of minor accidents, so please pay attention, please drive cautiously, and don't be one of these statistics. Okay, all this also applies to riding a bicycle. There is little to no distinction made between using a car and a bike. This includes drinking alcohol and using your phone, and even using your earphones. Also, umbrellas. You cannot carry your umbrella whilst cycling, although you will see lots of people doing this. But yeah, officially they are all illegal. Also, a new measure came in to Fukui recently, and that is that cyclists must get their own insurance, liability insurance, to protect themselves in case they injure a third party. Now, it is a law, but at the moment it's not enforceable, but it is highly recommended, of course. Okay, next up is seat belts. So yeah, again, no seatbelt is a dame, and please note if your passenger is not wearing a seatbelt and you are the driver, as the driver you get the fine and you get the points on your license, so ensure everyone in your car is wearing a seatbelt. There does seem to be a more lax attitude to seatbelts, well, certainly compared to the UK where I'm from. But yeah, almost on a daily basis I become enraged by seeing kids running around on the backseat of cars, so please drive carefully. Next up, snow tyres. So you must put them on. It's about mid-December through until the end of March. Most cars in Fukui will come with them. Actually, it's the whole wheel you change, not just the tyre, and you can get them very easily changed at gasoline or petrol stations, and it doesn't cost much, 2,000 to 3,000 yen to get them changed, or you can do it yourself if you have the correct tools. Also, get a shovel or a skoppu for shoveling snow until you are able to locate where you left your car. It snows a lot here in the winter. Anyway, I'll send out some winter driving tips nearer the time. You must also get compulsory insurance, hence the name compulsory. It's not that expensive, but also as an ALT, in order to be able to drive in Fukui, you must also get the optional insurance as well to cover you for liability. This can be pricier, I'm afraid. Did you know, actually, many prefectures in Japan don't even allow their ALTs to drive cars. So yes, although it's expensive, and yeah, we're lucky that we are actually permitted to. Okay, finally, let's end with a top tip. So, if you do need to do the full driving test, this is mostly Americans, then start applying early for your license, your full license. If you take the driving test and you fail a few times, you'll need to retake the test, and this will take time. Okay, so that's it for On the Road, and until next time, stay safe. Mata ne.